Hello, party people. Welcome to Honest Trailer Commentaries for the film Con Air.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lon. Thank you for that Con Air appropriate guitar lick. I'm Spencer J. Gilbert. We should do like Con Air criminal names. I'm Spencer Ice Pick Gilbert.
Oh yes.
You're Lon.
Lon the Slammer Harris.
And Dan the Madman Murrell. Joe, the Beast Starr, and Danielle, Laser Puma Radford couldn't join us today. They all have individual excuses. I don't know why they wouldn't want to be here to talk about Con Air.
I wish we had John Cusack to walk us through their excuses for not being here.
Well. Wait, no, that's Suicide Squad.
Yeah. 8 counts of arson!
If you guys haven't seen this show before, we're talking about the other show, Honest Trailers for Con Air, and we'll give you some of our thought process as we were writing it, some things that didn't make the cut, and literally some things that didn't make the cut, because if you stick around to the end, there's some deleted scenes. I think there's some good ones this time.
We had a lot. There's so much going on in Con Air.
So much to say about Con Air. A lovely film. Honestly, like, if you're shitting on Con Air, what's wrong with you? Like, what do you have against this movie that this movie doesn't have against itself, or know exactly what's wrong with it?
It's Con Air does that thing where it's anything to make it more fun. Anything for a laugh, anything that will lead to like a fun action scene, anything that'll extend an action scene for a little bit further.
I think Cyrus the Virus dies about 12 different times.
Sure, because every time they would come up with a way to kill him, they were like, should we do that one? Like, do them all. Put them all in there. He's got like a Rasputin-esque...
Make sure he's dead.
He gets stabbed through the leg. He's on they're fighting on, I believe, a fire truck. Yeah. He gets stabbed through the leg. He gets, then he gets what? Thrown
into a construction yard where he gets
through 2 windows
onto a conveyor belt that's running at night in Vegas.
Electrocuted in the power lines too.
And then
it's raining.
And then onto the head smasher.
Right. So in a conveyor belt that lifts him up and then drops him, and then there's a piece of construction equipment that's doing nothing. It's just slamming the ground.
If someone could recut that to like the George Gershwin like dun 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 da 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 music, we would be much appreciated. But more broadly, Con Air is just pure fun injected right in your veins.
And it's not taking itself seriously. It's not trying to like be like intricately plotted. Like that's another thing. Today, this movie would be like, there'd be like 8 stops they have to make, and there'd be like all kinds of convoluted.
Yeah, no, it's very clear. What I find is
just go.
What's fascinating about this film to me is that this sounds like a made-up premise to an action movie, and it sort of is. But also, there really is a Con Air. There really is an airline or like an air service when they need to transport criminals. It's like a prison bus. Like there are flights that are full of criminals. I imagine they're not quite the same as this one. Maybe they have some armed guard. Well, I guess not armed guards. You can't have a gun to play. Is Con Air real? Oh my God!
This movie is based on a true
documentary. But the screenwriter did say he went on a couple flights on
Con Air.
Con Air.
Wow. Yeah, they never bring up the thing from so many movies, which is you can't fire a gun in a plane or it'll like.
That's in every plane movie.
Like set off the air pressure or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm sure we have so much more to say. So let's just dive right into the trailer. Let's watch it. We'll stop and go.
Yeah, there was like a golden age of the like action movies on planes. There's like this one and like Passenger 57 and
Air Force One came out right after this.
This is Honest
Turbulence,
Blockbuster.
Which weirdly, pause already. Already we're pausing.
Executive Decision.
So Air Force One came out after this. Was a much bigger hit at the time. But we were saying like, what if you went back to tell people as they were seeing Con Air, like movie critics specifically, like this film is going to be absolutely beloved in a couple decades.
This is going to be one of the 90s action movies that everybody remembers and celebrates. Like they would not believe you.
No.
It's also like Nicolas Cage. Like I feel like there's key moments in Nicolas Cage's career where if you went and be like, this performance is going to become legendary.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the equivalent would be today of like someone that's just so over the top and obnoxious and like right in your face right now with distance we'll look back on and we'll be like, that's actually really fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
It's Who's your Nick Cage right now? You be the judge.
Tell us.
Anyways, keep playing. Sorry.
After summer.
Been requesting this for a long time.
And the same director as the Rick Roll video? Weird comes a film released 1 year after Nick Cage took on The Rock, and just 3 weeks before he'd take off a face.
I'd like to take his face off.
Wow, it's a miracle any of us survived peak Nick Cage, especially Nick Cage.
All right, so pause. The Rock, Con Air, Face Off is kind of an unparalleled 3-movie stretch.
What a run, yeah.
Like, I don't know what 3 movies from one actor starring would be a better run.
Like that kind of run. And it's just, there's such a specific vibe. Like they feel like connected.
A trilogy.
Yeah, it's a trilogy, right? It's
if
like,
we ever do like Movie Fights Best Trilogy, I'm just going to argue that they are all the same.
He's playing different characters, but in spirit, it's the Nicolas Cage action trilogy because he just brings such a specific energy.
Which one would you choose?
Oh, out of those 3?
Yeah. You get to keep one. The other 2 never exist.
I mean, I think that of the 3, Con Air goes first for me, and then it comes down to The Rock versus Face Off, which is very hard. I think I like the action in The Rock better, but I think the Cage in Face Off may be the best ever Cage.
See, I kind of agree with you, but for me, The Rock is the first off because like The Rock is a good action movie, and like there are some actual genuinely great performances in it. There's plenty of other good movies out there. There's nothing quite like Face Off.
I mean, Face Off, like I do think Face Off may be overall peak Cage, like the most cagey.
One of one. Yeah, that movie is made of cocaine. I know we're not talking about Face Off. We did another one on Face Off, but yeah, that one is just like when it goes from the face transplant movie, which by the way, Steve Buscemi, he wore a face in this film, or allegedly. But when they go to the magnet boot prison, that for me is when it becomes an all-time great film.
Just because the whole thing is so cartoonish and ridiculous, and yet it's so dramatic. Like it's got that John Woo where it's like they're taking it very seriously. They're not playing it. Like this one, it's jokey and silly, and even in the really like dramatic moments, it's kind of silly, but not Face Off.
Now, speaking of cocaine, though, if you had about $65 million to burn, as Nick Cage did after these 3 movies, what eccentric purchase would you make? And would it be a dinosaur skull like Nick Cage bought?
I think I would be that person who would be buying, like what Nicolas Cage does, but for movie memorabilia. Like he's into he buys like Spider-Man #1 and like that kind of stuff. I would be the guy who's like, I want Venkman's original like proton pack from Ghostbusters. Like that's how they get me.
The reason I'll never be Nick Cage is because I couldn't spend that much money better than Nick Cage could. He bought dinosaurs and castles.
It's true. He's very good.
Yeah, look it up.
And then he named his kids after superheroes. He's living it.
He's living the dream. Doing it so right. Anyways, keep going.
All aboard Con Air, an airplane full of the worst criminals, some unarmed guards, one undercover agent, and an American hero with a terrible lawyer.
Admit to it.
You shall remain incarcerated for a term
so there were
no 7 to 10 years.
There were no character witnesses. No one in the bar was like, yeah, the guy had a knife. Like nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not Nicolas Cage's fault at all. And they use that like you were in the military, so you don't ever get away with just defending yourselves. Like, is that true?
No, like you were a Green Beret, you could kill someone in the street, and we'd be like, well, the troops. Like that is maybe the 90s were a different time.
Maybe, but it's also just like but if you're a Green Beret, you're still allowed to defend yourself. You can't be.
And if I'm sure some dirtbag accosts you behind a bar and ends up dead, like they're gonna assume the best.
It's also like first offense. You'd think it would speak to his character. He's got this like military career. I don't know. It does seem like he gets really railroaded. Unfortunately.
Railroaded. Well, fortunately for us.
Fortunately for the other people on Con Air as well.
All right, keep going.
When this plane takes off.
Sorry, pause.
We'll
be here all day. Is it really a good ending at the end of the day? Because if he were not on Con Air, I feel like they would have escaped anyways, or maybe it would have failed. Because I feel like the end of Con Air is there's a lot of murderers free in the streets.
Well, I think what would have happened definitely is that the DEA guy would have gotten his way and shot the plane down, and so we would have avoided the landing on the strip, probably killing a bunch of people that way.
And like Steve Buscemi is still at large, right?
Yes. Also, Garland Green would be still in custody and not out, probably murdering
Nick
people.
Cage's inclusion in this movie is leaving everyone.
Baby-O is alive today
Yeah.
because of the sacrifices of Nick
But a
Cage.
lot of babies are probably dead because of Steve Buscemi.
Fair enough.
Anyways, keep going.
Plane takes off, so does the action, culminating in amazing set pieces, some outlandish comedy, and the world's most high-stakes unboxing video.
Put the
Had to find some way to work this quote in.
in the box.
Yeah, it's cheesy, but it has as many Oscar nominations as Vertigo. So, you tell me which one's better.
I mean, I'd
Nick
rather
Cage
watch
is
Con Air. I don't know.
Poe Dameron. I mean Poe Cameron. I mean
That has to be a
Cameron
nod, right?
Poe.
Is
He's a
it?
former
I never
prodigal
actually
with
realized
a
it until we were
past.
writing this.
Manslaughter in the first degree.
And even that past has a past.
So many paths.
Second there, you were that guy again. I was hoping maybe the army would make that guy grow up.
And not even that past can explain his accent.
Well, that makes your daddy very proud.
I am, however, torn apart when I
However.
think that I won't be there to see
This
our
jail cell
child
had a
come
pull-up
into the
bar.
world.
I started this day with a birthday party to get to, and I'm gonna get to it.
He's
Pause.
got a
So what's going on? Well, I know what's going on because it was a Nick Cage note.
Yes, he
to
wanted
play
to
his
do it,
character
yeah.
Southern because they're quote more chivalrous, and he would fight for the honor of his wife,
Right, yeah.
more so
He
than
felt-
a northern Yankee gentleman.
Yeah, and you're doing like it is Foghorn Leghorn. Like I feel like that was when he was working on this voice. He was like, "I say, 1 minute, boy." Like,
Wasn't he Southern though in Raising Arizona? Right?
yeah. Well, it's kind of more like a hillbilly kind
Like he
of
can
thing.
he actually is a good actor. Like
Yes.
he can do a voice or a dialect. No, he can't.
I feel like he kind of struggles with voices. He's a great actor, but I feel like a lot of his accent work is a little,
but also
a little too much.
It's a little cartoonish and a little strange and uncanny, and it fits the film. You know.
I mean, it's the kind of movie where it's just like throw anything at the wall to make it just a little bit more memorable. Like we were talking, I don't think it got in the trailer, but in our notes, there's that shot where, so it's a huge chaotic action scene at the end. The plane is crashing on the Vegas Strip.
Oh, the donut.
Yeah, and there's a shot of there's police cars, there's chases, and there's a shot of two cops and they're on motorcycles and they take off to go after the plane. And Simon West holds it on the ground as one of them drops a donut into the foreground, and he just taken like one bite, like oh.
Well, I mean, this is an unabashedly anti-law enforcement movie, which fine, but like it's going so far over the top. Like even if the criminals are the heroes, the cops like, boom, my donut,
boom, my donut, and it's like those cops aren't characters. We don't ever see them again. It has nothing. It's not a funny scene. It's an action scene. There's no reason for it to be there other than like obviously it made Simon West chuckle, and he was like, put it in, and it's like,
is he British? He's British, right? Simon West?
Feel like
I mean, how do you
he
direct Rick Roll if you're not?
Yeah, I feel like he is, but I don't want to say definitely for sure.
Anyways. Oh, that. Wait, what do they call cops in the UK? Bobby. That Bobby dropped his his jammy biscuit.
Ripping good laugh, yes. Yeah.
Anyways, keep going.
He's got a mane like the love child of Mufasa and Fabio. A daughter he won't shut up about.
See my daddy for the first time ever.
Yep.
It's my daughter's birthday.
We get it.
It's my daughter's birthday today.
Gotta go back.
My daughter's picture. Where'd you put my daughter's picture?
Check.
I'm afraid my daughter won't understand.
Etc.
It's my daughter.
I didn't know you had a daughter. And his sheer awesomeness will conjure sweet-ass guitar licks out of thin air.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna show you God does exist.
Man, I want it to be all like, when I walk into a room, someday, Eddie Voice Guy, someday.
They don't do pause. They don't do like we were talking earlier. Actually, they don't do rock scores as much anymore.
No, and definitely not like with the prominent like the guitar lick that comes in every time like the hero does that. Like Michael Bay kind of killed it. I think.
If this did come out today, like as soon like I'll show you God does exist, and it'd be like da na 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 Slim Shady 1 2 3 dabba dabba doo dabba doo hey Haley.
It would all be timed to be with whatever song was popular.
This movie
like,
would just
the
be
month.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
without superheroes.
Suicide Squad does kind of rip off a lot of the
Con
stuff
Air.
from this movie.
If only they took more.
They're like the ragtag. They're criminals, but they're the heroes.
Standing between Poe and his daughter is a group of dudes so bad, they've all got nicknames. There's Bill.
That's William Bedford, a.k.a. Billy Bedlam.
And
Nathan Jones, a.k.a. Diamond Dog.
And
Bimbo Parker, armed robber, arsonist, dope fiend.
Oh, come on. At least let me do John Malkovich.
His name is Cyrus Grissom, a.k.a. Cyrus the Virus.
Shut up, John Cusack. Stop giving Suicide Squad ideas.
So pause. The Man Who Can Climb Anything. I don't know if he's changed his tune recently. I think he actually has, but there was definitely a period of time where Cusack really hated being asked about Con Air and kind of refused to discuss it. Probably because that was the only movie of his people wanted to know about. Aside from Say Anything or something like that.
Right. Yeah. The Raven wasn't lighting up interview segments.
It's too bad because and maybe he has embraced his inner cheeseball recently because he's in that Roman Centurion versus Jackie Chan movie and stuff like that.
I don't know. I feel like he's always that guy who's I'm going to do one big cheesy Hollywood thing and then I'll make 4 indie things that nobody wants to see but me, you know? I'm going to do my ultra liberal war man. I'll do that and then to pay for that I'll do whatever the studios want me to do.
I feel like does not hold it holds up as great in some respects and terrible in others. High Fidelity.
Yeah, it's dated now for sure.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, back when it was made, you could still just kind of make a movie just for the 30-something white dudes.
Yeah, he sucks.
And now when you watch a movie, you're like, oh, this guy is terrible. Yeah. The focus of the movie assumes you're a white dude in your 30s and that you're going to relate to him. And if you're anybody else and you watch the movie, this guy's kind of a dick to everybody.
Oh my God, he's cheering when one of them gets a miscarriage.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I think that's part of it. And definitely in the book, that's part of the awareness that the narrator's maybe not a good guy.
So much of it is banking on the Cusack charm that I think maybe decades later doesn't exist. I got off track because what I wanted to talk about was Con Air 2. Which is what...
Wait, there's not a Con Air 2.
Well, either the screenwriter or the director, I forget which one, was talking about how they want to do Con Air 2. Okay. This is what Cusack refused to talk about. And it was going to be in space. And we've really dropped the ball as a species.
So far from God's light.
There is an existing either treatment or just a pitch.
We just be Con Space.
Con Air 2.
Con Air
Con
anymore.
Space.
Con Vacuum. Con Shuttle. I think Con Shuttle. And there's a space prison.
Yes.
But en route. Is it still do we reunite the cast of Con Air?
Yeah, or maybe it's the prison from Face Off and it's a unified cinematic universe.
Yeah. Or you could even do the Marvel version of this or something now that we've got these whole universes.
Yeah.
It's they're taking the guys to the S.H.I.E.L.D. space prison.
In space, no one can hear you.
Reteam.
Yeah, done. Sold. Cut. Print. All right, keep going.
Stop giving Suicide Squad ideas.
Here comes Slipknot, the man who can climb anything.
So return to the 90s for a blockbuster that's top of its class because the cast is grade A. It's produced by a B.
It's a little wordplay
with a Nick C. and his big swinging D.
Thanks to Dan for realizing we were missing big swinging D.
Big swinging D. F.
What are you gonna do for me?
I'm gonna save the f***ing day.
Now that's a f***ing report card. Starring I know why the cage bird sings. Save anything. Being Con Malkovich. I'm squished, biatch. There's all kind of diabetes. Type 1, type 2. Please return your tray out to its upright and locked position. Mission Impossible. Rogue Aviation.
Such a good cast.
Yeah, wow.
You could have them do anything and I'd watch it.
And Emmy Award Stealer for Outstanding Short Form Variety Series.
Dan's really up in arms about this still. I'm fine with it, Steve.
Hero
you earned it. It's the voters I blame.
Planes, James, and a guy from Mobile.
Planes, Trains, and a Guy from Mobile is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well done, guys.
Sand.
No one likes sand, Cyrus. It's coarse, rough, and it gets everywhere.
Get it?
Like that line.
From that other film you don't like.
Right.
Okay. Let's roll right into deleted scenes. What else we got?
Okay.
But Con Air is so much more than dealing with all these snakes on a plane.
Eyes can play house till we get to where we're going. And then
Yeah, because he was a snake.
the dog begins.
Yeah,
It's also full of social commentary, like the importance of respecting women.
Don't treat women like
Yeah, or meditations on theology.
There ain't no God. He don't exist.
Deep, or exploring the idea that the system makes criminals.
What is he, one of these sociology majors who thinks we're responsible for breeding these animals?
Cool. Okay, how about accepting our LGBTQ friends? How's it do when it comes to racial issues?
He blew up a meeting of the National Rifle Association saying, and I quote, they represented the basest negativity of the white race.
Don't get all wounded knee on me and shit.
Do-rag gotta go, homeboy.
Two-bit Negro crackhead.
Hey!
Oof. Well, at least it doesn't go out of its way to humanize a serial child murderer.
One girl, I drove through 3 states wearing her head as a hat.
He's got the whole world.
We'll pause. So I think the reason we didn't put this in is for a couple reasons, but it's like the movie kind of makes it ambiguous whether he really is as bad as we think.
The whole Garland Green, Steve Buscemi plot line doesn't actually work at all. And it makes me feel like there's a scene or two missing.
Yeah.
Because they set up this idea that first, he's crazy. Like, for most of the movie, the joke is he's like Jeffrey Dahmer, Charles Manson. Like, he's completely
I think it's
out of his mind.
He's just a setup for a joke where it's like, oh, he's actually sane.
Right.
Like, that was as far as they thought into it.
And then they have this bit where he gets off the plane and he meets this little girl and they have this tea party, and the tension of it is that you, the viewer, are like, oh, he's gonna murder this girl. Like, this is what he does. He's crazed murderer.
All we know, at least he says himself, that he wore a kid's head as he drove across state
admitted
lines.
Child murderer.
Well, he could have found it somewhere, but yeah, sure.
And then at the end, the plane takes off and we see the little girl chase after the plane. She's not dead. So you go like, oh, well, maybe he's changed his tune, but there was nothing.
The system works.
But they haven't shown us what caused. Like, there's no indication as to what made him change his mind. He just suddenly decided to stop murdering kids.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he gets away.
Right.
He's like free in Vegas, and it's like played like it's funny, like it's a happy ending. But where's that moment where he decides to stop being a serial killer?
Fair point. Also, there were many more racist clips that we left out. But I think overall the issue is like, it's bad, but like the movie, like they're supposed to be pieces of shit. Like they're supposed to be prisoners and assholes, and like so calling them out for being racist, like that's prison.
Well, it's everybody's racist. It's not just prisoners are racist to other. It's like the good guys are also racist against the prisoners.
Yeah.
Like one of those shots is the guard being like, the do-rag's got to go. It's also like Chappelle's character introduces himself as a dope fiend. Like people don't do that.
Well, they do in these kind of movies. Why not?
Hey, what's going on? I love dope.
Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Keep going.
In his hands.
Does the new shooter feel lucky?
Wow. Okay, well, maybe let's just play some shots of Nick Cage in slow-mo.
Always a good thing.
Much better. Starring sky-high fidelity, high velocity, an actual national treasure, and re-entering Las Vegas.
Lots of people died.
They were
sky hard.
demolishing the Oasis or one of those hotels it crashes into anyways, and they let them use it for the movie.
It's a controlled plane demolition.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful when a film like that comes together.
Con Air. I miss this era of Bruckheimer. Like this was Disney because it's Touchstone, but once Bruckheimer started doing the Pirates movies and hooked up with Disney formally, now it's like,
well, it's adapt or die. They just don't make movies like this
yeah, they did. Now it's like everything's got more of a family-friendly kind of sheen, and everything's like 2 hours and 45 minutes long. Like I miss the '90s rough and tumble Simpson.
I feel like, though, that this was
era.
a good practice swing for Pirates of the Caribbean. Like.
So similar in so many ways.
Like a roguish hero, you know, and Orlando Bloom is clearly the Cusack.
Well, I mean, what you can take, I think, from stuff like this that Bruckheimer, Jay Brooks has carried with him the whole way is like, give people almost too much of a good thing. Yeah. Like, don't, like a lot of action movies. I think this has become like a theme of all of these 90s action movies we've been doing. Is like, it used to be you have a big opening action scene and then something in the middle and then you have a big action climax. And like Speed and this and The Rock and like all of these movies in a row were like, just make it relentless.
The Rock is a little, there's no point for that car chase to be as long as it is.
No, right. But and also like once they get to Alcatraz, it's basically just all action.
Yeah.
There's just like every sequence is like another action thing they have to do. And it just became this like, just movies should just be relentless nonstop action. And I still kind of associate that with like the high Bruckheimer era. Which is great. And
but then like his dark, twisted acolyte Michael Bay like took it. I don't know if he took it too far or he just like it's missing something. Like because the Transformers movies, relentless action and comedy, like being shot at your face and too much of everything.
I mean, to me, that's a big part of it is that Michael Bay, as far as I can tell, has no sense of humor, and I think like it really hurts it undermines them because like his fun, like Pain and Gain is really funny, but he doesn't know.
He has a cruel sense of humor. Like his sense of humor is like
bullying and mean-spirited. Yeah. And that's why like Pain and Gain almost it like works in spite of itself. Like I don't know if he knew that it was a comedy.
No,
but it's very funny.
Dances on the razor's edge.
The Rock barbecuing a guy's foot is like.
But does he know if that's funny or not?
I don't think he does.
I think he's playing that straight.
I know that it's funny.
Well, what else could we say about Con Air? It's great. You should watch it. If you watched this and you haven't seen Con Air, what are you doing? You really blew it.
Immediately.
Stop immediately. Go back. Watch Con Air again.
We didn't really talk a lot about how like there's so many great actors just chewing the scenery in this.
Just every actor is at an 11, and they're all crammed on a plane together.
Yeah.
And I think more movies need to do that.
This is like my second favorite, incredibly over the top, ridiculous John Malkovich performance after Only Rounders. Rounders, I think, tops this.
Give this man his money.
Teddy KGB is the greatest ever.
Maybe we'll do Rounders.
I would love to do
next year, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like one of the top ones that we haven't done, but it's on the list.
It's so good.
Oh, I love Rounders.
Anyways, I hope you enjoyed those tangents. I'm sure we'd have more to say if we had our other friends who worked on this with us, but
just us. You're gonna have to just live with the two of us.
Sorry, but we'll be back next week where we will be covering something. Because I was gonna give the clue. It's very obvious.
I don't know how. Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep my emotion out of it. I'm not gonna get emotional.
That makes sense.
And we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.